Good evening, everybody. So lately I've received quite a lot of requests following up the video I did about bodybuilding motivation for the supplements and so forth. I've kind of hinted at the possibility of bringing the camera to the gym with me, and about a couple of weeks ago I finally did that. And I captured a few videos, which you can see in this folder right here. Unfortunately, the the one thing I was really trying to bring the camera for, to hit a certain milestone, didn't quite work out as expected, but I learned a lot from it, and I will go into that in more detail as we go through the videos here. But yeah, overall, bringing a camera with you to the gym can be really helpful, because a lot of times if you work out by yourself and don't necessarily have somebody to correct your form, some lifts don't necessarily have a mirror near you, and so it can be a little harder to make sure that every point of the lift is correct, especially if you're lifting heavy. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So this first little clip, as you can see here, the bar has already been loaded up with 4 plates on each end. These are as you can see, these huge bumper plates. They weigh 45 pounds each. And this bar is also 45 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And there's no need for the sound here, so I'm going to turn that off. So here we are at Lifetime Fitness in Loudoun County, Virginia, which is near the Dulles Airport. This is me going through and just setting up the rack, so I won't be needing these little rungs that are hanging out there. And mostly, for the purposes of this video, they're in the way. So I took them off. Normally I would just leave them where they are. So at this point, I'm at the beginning of my leg day. This is one of a few just warm-up reps with not a whole lot of, weight necessarily. Although, obviously, whether you think 405 pounds is a lot, it depends on how much you've been lifting. But yeah, this was just basically a practice lift. So as you can see, I'm actually noticing a few things, though, that I could be doing a lot better. One of which is, even if you're just lining up the lift, you don't touch the bar to your shins like I am here. And you also never, ever bow your back. You should have your back arched the other way at all times, no matter what. And I try to do that during the lift, but sometimes I get a little lazy when I'm grabbing my hand onto the bar. As you can see here, I'm also using wrist wraps, and you may have seen, competition bodybuilders doing that here and there, but before I started with the wrist wraps, I was just using an opposed grip. So this hand would be turned the other way, and my left hand would be overhand, like it is now, with no wrist wraps. But since I also am my lady's personal massage therapist, particularly when she has a migraine, I do some special massage specifically on her head and her face. As I was lifting heavier and heavier, it's just was making my hands and my calluses on my hands just far too rough. So I decided I needed to do something more than just wearing the gloves, as you can see here. So I dusted off the 20-year-old wrist wraps that were still in my gym bag and started using them just so that my hands are never touching the rough part of the bar. They're actually just touching the canvas of the wraps. So I try to not use the wraps too much. I only wrap them around once as I get my grip, as you can see here. I just put them around the bar one time, just so that it gives me something else to grab onto, but it does support my grip just a bit. So, as you can see here, preparing. I should probably be down a little deeper than that, but for the most part, this isn't too bad a form. So, and as I bring the bar up, I more or less maintain the same angle on my back as my legs bring the weight up, and then it easily clears. Now that's the sort of form that I should have when doing a heavy deadlift. But as you'll see, as we move on to the actual attempt, that will be one of the big mistakes that I make. So anyway, the other thing you'll notice here is that I've run out of room to use these bumper weights. They're too wide. If I put one more bumper plate on the end, there'll be literally an inch of bar left, which means I can't get the extra weight on that I need to top this off to 500, because with 5 plates on, it's only 495. So here we go. I'm putting a little 2.5 pound plate on, and then the collars that hold the weights in place. And so a little bit about my physique, I guess, since it's probably a question that you might get sometimes. We're going to speed on back to my approach here. I'm 5'10". I weigh about 210 pounds right now, and I'm 46 years old. So this is a couple weeks after I turned 46 that I'm going for this. Actually, this particular date that I'm doing is only a few days after I turned 46. So yeah, as I come down here again, I've been watching a lot of deadlifting videos, and they basically say the weight is supposed to be right above the middle of your foot. It's not supposed to be against the shin. Also, as you can see, I try to make sure that the wires of my headphones are not going to be pulling, because that's a huge distraction. Really, I need to just get some wireless headphones so that I can hear my tunes to block out the lame music that they play in the gym, or just so that I can have my hard metal, in my ears while I'm doing this lift. So I had to repeat the movement of putting the thing around the bar, and as you can see here, the 500 lift, as I pull it off the ground, yeah, completely the wrong angle. So we're going to go back here and we'll do this really slow. You can kind of see that what's really funny about when you're attempting a lift this heavy is, as you can see, when it comes off the ground, the weight on the ends starts to bend the bar quite a lot. So as you can see, I'm picking up, and the weights on the end are still touching the ground, while the ones in the middle are now off the ground. But yeah, as you can see, butt comes straight up in the air with the force of my legs. And right here, you can see me straining, and I'm trying to decide whether I should continue the lift or not. Depending, it's so much a matter of feel, whether I will keep going or whether I just stop at this point right here. I'll just decide whether I think I'm going to get it. The weight started to move, so I thought my back was going to be able to just muscle it on up, and especially when I reached my knees, I figured usually if I can get it this high, then I can thrust my hips into the weight and bring it the rest of the way up. Unfortunately, because of the work that I made my lower back do, right at this moment, you can see my knees are starting to shake because my back has decided that it's not going to pull anymore. And I felt a little something that said, dude, drop the weight right now. So I let it go back down with a lot of disappointment. And here you can see I've even dropped my head already. So that's another big no-no. You should always have your eyes level. So this video is really valuable for me. And I completely lucked out when it comes to, this was pretty much a potential injury. Thankful I could say, it's that old question, are you injured or are you hurt? If you're injured, it's a serious thing, and if you're hurt, it's not. I can say that it just ended up being I'm hurt. But when I was done with this lift, I took a walk over to the water fountain, and I'll tell you, bending over to take a drink of water was painful. So I realized I had probably done something quite wrong, besides just not being able to get the lift up. And so I came back. Here's the next movie file. I decided to load the weight back down to 405. And here you'll see I'll come back and do one more lift just with 405. And right now, yeah, I'm already kind of, my lower back is definitely letting me know that something is kind of wrong. And so I go ahead and I go for one more feeler set just to see how 405 feels, to see if I've really injured it or not. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but this is the kind of thing that you obviously wouldn't even try if you are injured, you know it. And if you're just hurt and you've just strained or pulled it a little bit, then so you can see that was nowhere near as smooth, but still not too difficult to do. All right. So since that was okay, I knew that the day or two after, especially the second day, I was going to be in a lot of pain. But I decided to continue on with my leg day. So the next exercise is the leg sled, as you can see here. The sled is approximately a 45-degree angle. I've never measured it, but I've kind of assumed that it looks like it's about 45 degrees. And I set the seat so that it allows me a little bit of, travel while still being at the right angle towards my legs and towards the platform. And as you can see here, I've loaded it up with 7 45-pound plates on each end. The reason why there's such a big discrepancy between free weights and this sled is because of this 45-degree angle. I figure that the weight you're actually pressing is take whatever you've loaded onto the sled and divide it by the square root of 2, and that's what it actually weighs. So yeah, here we go. This is kind of my warm-up weight for the sled. So, and I have this kind of OCD thing of leaning my torso forward to try and make sure that my hips are in the right position before I lift the weight onto my legs. And there I go again. Pulling on the wires to my headphones again to make sure that they've got slack before I start. And as you can see, my toes are pointed out, and my feet are pretty far out. That's mainly because I got tired of hitting my knees against my chest. So by pointing them outward, my legs can clear my torso and I can get a lot more range of motion. So basically, the point that you're seeing the weight smack the bottom, that's the stops. That's as far down as you can go. So here I'm just kind of moving the weight a few times, not really worrying about how many. I'm mostly trying to just go for control, and then we go up to the actual weight that I'm going to do for more of a high intensity. Now, I should mention at this point that I do generally train along the principles of lifters like Dorian Yates, the former Olympia champion. I think he's got 6 Mr. Olympia wins. But he's really big on high intensity training, and he even has done a series on bodybuilding.com's YouTube channel called Blood and Guts. So if you're interested in the high intensity training method and just Dorian Yates in general, those are a really good series of videos to check out on bodybuilding.com's YouTube channel. But basically, generally speaking, you're looking at somewhere around 7 to 9 working sets. And you're not necessarily going to failure, but you're going to approach failure on the main working set. And then the other ones are more for completeness of form and just trying to get a certain rep range while, going to, let's say, 80 or 90% of what you could handle. So, and I think I have some buddies in the gym this day, which is why there seems to be a lot of dead air between sets. So yeah, here we go with loading some more plates on. So yeah. So I don't know. Do I have my calculator? Let's check my calculator. What's the square root of 2? Percent, is it? I don't know if my calculator has that. Where's square root? Alright, well, anyway. I think it's somewhere around 1.45. So 9 plates on each end. That's 9 times 90, basically, which is 810 pounds. I don't really figure the weight of the sled into this, so let's just say 810 divide by the square root of 2, which is 1.45. Okay, so roughly 558 pounds, give or take. Now, that may sound like a lot, but I can squat around 315 for reps, and I weigh 200 something, so this is pretty close to the same range as doing a set of squats. Although, squats require more of a balancing act, and obviously, machines make it a little easier because it directs the weight in a certain path of travel. So here we go. Now, I always do let the weight sit on my feet for a few seconds just to get used to it and let my pelvis get used to the weight. And then I take some breaths and then I go for it. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Getting a little difficult now. 6. There's that thing again. 7. 8. And here I'm going through my mind. Do I have more? Can I do more? Let's go for one more. 9. And at this point I said, heck with it. Squeeze one more. 10. There we go. And obviously I'm pretty exhausted at this point. All right. So I wanted to talk about one other thing, since I got the question from somebody that watched my videos and was asking, when I do another one, could I talk about what got me involved, got me started in weight training or bodybuilding, and what are my goals? So, starting with what goals I have. Sorry if my keyboard is making squeaking noises in my lap here. I would say the goals that I have right now mostly involve kind of chasing the strength levels that I previously achieved when I was in my mid-20s, which, it's taken me quite a lot of years to kind of recover that sort of lifting ability, because around the time that I moved out to the East Coast and spent 5 or 6 years on the road touring and so forth, and then basically I went through a period where I just wasn't training that much. Really around the time that I turned 40 or so, I was getting more into racing, and then even that kind of just, not much was happening with that. And I think around the time that I turned 40 or 41 years old, I really just had let my physique slide quite a lot. So I've spent, the last 4 years, let's say, really training hard and trying to recover just the fitness level and the strength that I used to have. It sounds like somebody's outside shooting off fireworks left over from 4th of July, something. So anyway, so I wanted to, first and foremost, regain the strength that I used to have. Didn't even really know if that was going to be possible, because at first, when you lose a lot of strength and fitness combined with, arriving at middle age, your body's going to fight you a little bit, and you're going to experience, back pain and shoulder pain and elbow pain, and all kinds of places will ache that you've never had to deal with before. And it messes with your head a little bit, because it makes you think, well, maybe I'm just too old to do this. Maybe I'm just never going to be fit again. Maybe, the skeleton is just getting too old, and the joints are just not going to be able to deal with it anymore. And so it was kind of an interesting experiment. But ultimately, I can happily say that I've worked through pretty much all of those problems. All of the joint pain is pretty much gone. I have, incidental things here and there that kind of come and go. But a lot of the more chronic stuff, like shoulder pain, or, elbows not wanting to cooperate, all of that's pretty much resolved. And largely, a big portion, I have to say, of that, especially the shoulder, had to do with flexibility. So I've really had to spend a lot more time working on, really having a proper warm-up, spend at least 10 minutes on the treadmill before you start working out, just to make sure that your body is warmed up, and then at the end of every workout, make sure that whatever you've trained that day, spend some time stretching, and really stretch, not just to limber up, like before a workout, you want to limber up a little bit, but you don't want to stretch to try and really work on your range of motion necessarily, because that temporarily weakens you, and it actually might make it more difficult to train hard. But at the end of your training session, you definitely want to really stretch, to the point where you're trying to push past the limits of your flexibility. And that has made a huge difference in how fast I recover, how much my physique responds to the training, and continues gains every time I come to the gym, instead of, kind of doing the same workout over and over for months at a time or whatever. So once I hit a certain strength level, I think I'm going to focus on conditioning a lot more, because I'm now stronger than I ever was, but I feel like I could definitely be a lot more lean. And I would like for my height to be, under 200 pounds. And even if that's 199, that'll be, well, well within, what would make me happy and make me satisfied with whatever physique I can achieve. So, okay. As far as what got me started, I would say it was mostly to do with my father, who was a gymnast and a weight trainer. And I mean, I started lifting weights when I was in probably 3rd or 4th grade. And it's kind of continued off and on ever since. But I would say I probably got serious sometime in high school. Weight training was always in part of my PE program. And I remember as a freshman, 9th grade in high school, that was the year that I first bench pressed 200 pounds for 1 rep. So, I've always been trying to make some slow progress and whatnot. And I definitely got a lot more serious about weight training in college because my brother and I were both pushing each other to, just friendly competition to make us both continue making huge gains. So by the time we were both in our 20s, we were really, at our peak. So, and yeah, it's just continued on from there. I am ACE certified, the American College of Exercise, I believe that stands for. I got that a long time ago. So, but yeah, I studied sports science as a minor in college, which included classes like physiology, nutrition, of course, and things like that. So, yeah, it's been an interest for a really long time. Now, on this particular day, I didn't have a lot of battery power left at this point, just because I was, trying to capture lots of different stuff, and I kind of messed up on, stopping and starting the video camera as well. So I just kind of got what I got, but I did get one more little thing that I can share here, which is this is the seated calf machine, and here I have 4 45-pound plates loaded on to start off. This is kind of my warm-up weight. And yeah, I have to laugh, by the way, checking out myself on video doing weight training. I do see a lot of people that, kind of put their camera standing up somewhere in the gym and filming themselves weight training and whatnot. And I suppose some of the guys that I see in my gym are, probably have their own Instagram or something like that. But I always felt a little funny about filming myself. So I mostly brought the camera on this occasion just so that I could watch my form and see if I'm doing anything stupid that I could fix. So, and the other thing that makes me laugh is these shoes, which I love. They're really comfortable. But one of my favorite channels is Bro Science Life, and of course, at least one occasion he's made fun of these shoes, and the type of guys that mostly wear them. So, but I don't care. I love them, and I get a lot of comments about them, and people who want to know where to get them and stuff. Yeah, they're great shoes for lifting. I love them. I've been wearing some form of mat shoes, like wrestling shoes or whatever, to train in as long as I can remember. Certainly since, I was in my mid-20s, I was definitely wearing my Asics wrestling shoes. But I noticed all the bodybuilders, the pro bodybuilders, were wearing Atomics. So I finally decided to check out, well, how do you get Atomics? And by then, you could just order them online, of course. And tried all the different styles, but the Stingray boot is the style that I've come to enjoy. And they're reliable, and most of all, they fit my feet, my wide feet, which wrestling shoes don't always work out so well for. So here we go with a set of 6 plates. And the one thing I'm trying to do with the seated calves is full range of motion and not bouncing. because I'm sure you've seen plenty of guys in the gym doing this exercise, and they're just bouncing up and down. And, you know, I'm not one to criticize, but you won't get as much out of the lift doing that. What I do, as you can see here, there's sort of a second stage bounce at the top, and I started doing that mostly because of watching guys like Jay Cutler. And what that does is, when you get to the full contraction, you do a little bounce so that you can just get a little bit more range of motion at the top and force the calf to flex and peak contraction. So yeah, I've started adding that in a little bit. So now let's see, do we have enough film? Yes, maybe we do. Let's hope that I captured it, but it's possible that I didn't. But I did actually go and do one more set with 7 plates on, and I probably only got it for, I don't know, 8 reps, I think. But yeah, it looks like I'm going to run out of footage before I actually sit down and do this. Yeah, sorry about that. I had kind of hoped to capture a full workout, including right behind over here is a standing calf machine that I really like, so that you get both types of, because the way that the calves feel when you're seated with the legs at a 90-degree angle versus standing up straight feels different, and it hits different parts of the calf. So I definitely do both, and I've been adding a lot more volume to the calf section of my leg day. I used to only do like maybe 2 or 3 sets for calves, and now I do 6 to 8, depending on how many exercises I want to do. So, all right. And I, of course, got a nice little screenshot that I can use to send to my family or whatever, just to say, hey, this is as close as I got to pulling 500 pounds. I'm definitely planning on making another attempt at that lift. Probably not tomorrow night, but maybe the following week. Just depends on how tomorrow night goes. I'm going to start with, I've already been doing some 400-pound deadlifts again last weekend, and it felt pretty good. So this week I'll probably try somewhere between 400 and 500 pounds, and then just feel it out and see if I feel like I'm ready for another 500 attempt. So, but this is still a picture I can feel pretty good about, because, you know, up till now I've never had photos of myself doing any kind of weight training. So it's kind of cool to have something, and especially, you know, something where you can see the curvature of the bar. That's definitely a good feeling. So yeah. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this little look at some weight training, and if everybody seems to enjoy this sort of video, then I might just bring the camera to the gym for a couple other sessions. Right now my training split is legs are on their own day, and then chest is trained on its own day. Back is another day all by itself. And then the 4th day in my split is shoulders and arms. So, yeah, if any of that sounds interesting to you guys, leave me a comment, and I will try to bring the camera to the gym some night and capture some more of that sort of footage. So, again, thank you so much for all the support and all the encouragement, video ideas. I'm certainly keeping them all in my inbox, and I will be trying to get through as many of them as I can when I have the time. So, like I said, thank you so much. If you're still watching at this point, I really appreciate the interest, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.